Okay then, so we've got a brief piece of information about what we do when we first fill your spa, what the engineers will do for you on the installation in regards to water care. And this is really beneficial to understand, not just because of that point in time, but also moving on, when you drain and refill your spa 3 or 4 times a year, it's worthwhile knowing what to do on the initial fill-up. So we're going to go over that briefly now, including the chemicals that we use and the processes that we use as well. In terms of chemicals, it's pretty simple stuff. We use a number of basic chemicals: chlorine, pH plus and minus, possibly alkalinity, total hardness, and of course we also need a way to check that as well. The way we check all of those chemicals is using spa test strips, and they are litmus style pieces of strips of paper, 50 in a pack, and all we do is swipe one in the water and it gives you a colour indication about the chemical level in the water. Now on the back of the test strip you will see in a close-up we've got chlorine, alkalinity, pH and total hardness. So we are looking, and it also indicates of course the ideal level you're going to look for. So to use a test strip, and this is the case for all of the chemicals we're going to use here, dip in the water, 2-second wait, pull out, quick shake and cross-reference on the back. And of course you can see where you are in regards to the ideal level that's marked on your test strips. You can also use, and I've got one here, for your pH alone, you can use a digital pH reader. Really worthwhile buying one of these. It's about 15 or 20 pounds. Once you've calibrated it, which is very simple as well, it'll give you an absolute, like a decimalised indication of the level. So for your pH alone, which in itself is a crucial chemical, well worth bearing that in mind and possibly picking up on Amazon or eBay or similar. But back to the chemicals then, so what's going to happen on the initial fill-up? Once the spa's in place, you're first going to fill the spa, or the guys are going to fill the spa for you on the installation. Now you fill a hot tub by actually putting the hose pipe straight down the filter housing. You take the filter out, put the hose pipe straight down the housing, so the spa will in effect fill from the jets, as opposed to throwing the hose pipe in the spa and filling from the body. We fill in through the filter housing way to avoid airlocking the system. That's something that can happen if you just put the hose pipe in there. So once the spa is full of cold water, we're going to start adding the chemicals, and that's going to balance the water and protect it and give it a level of sanitisation to protect it as you move on. And the first chemical we're going to use is alkalinity. Now alkalinity is in this container here, and alkalinity is all to do with the water's ability to resist changes in pH, and that's why we do alkalinity first, because once you've fixed it, it stabilises everything else and makes it a lot easier to get all the others right. Now, all of spa chemicals, or the administration of them, is a question really of testing and adjusting. It's likely that your spa alkalinity is going to be a little bit low, so you'd put a small amount, like a teaspoon or similar, into the water, and you can check it again with your test strips 10 minutes later or so, and that should indicate, in theory, of course, that your alkalinity is back at your desired level. If it wasn't, add a little bit more. Once your alkalinity is set, we're then going to move on to the pH. pH is really important in a spa, often slightly overlooked. If you're looking for a mid-range pH of between 7.2 to 7.8, if it was too low, it would be too acidic and it would be corrosive on the spa components, like the pillows and the internal components, which you'd naturally want to avoid. If it was too high, it would be too alkaline or too basic, and therefore that's when it would send your water off, cloudy or off. And often people think cloudy water is all to do with the chlorine level, and it can be, but it's also very, very linked to your pH level. So you're looking for that ideal pH level in the middle. Once you've got an alkalinity and pH, you're then going to move on to total hardness. That's to do with the calcium level in your spa. It could just be that your hardness level is okay, in which case you wouldn't administer or add any hardness product. But if it was a little bit low, add the relevant amount of total hardness. And again, start off small and add a little bit more if necessary. Now they're your balancing agents of the spa, so it's going to ensure that the water's basically in line with your skin and where it should be. The fourth and final thing we're going to look at is the chlorine, because the chlorine in many ways is king of the chemicals. It also allows your spa to be crystal clear and protected and crucially safe. So even though the water's cold, we're going to put around a tablespoonful of chlorine straight into the water, and of course wait shortly, and then you can test all of those again. And you should therefore find that both your sanitizer levels and your balancing levels are really about right. Also very important though, we're now going to wait, although the water's cold, once it's warm at around 30 degrees, check all of that again. It'll only take a few minutes, but we check it again at 30 degrees because once the water's warm, it naturally affects the chemical level of the spa, so check it again. And that process is everything we're going to do every time you drain and refill the spa. That's the initial fill-up of the spa. In the next short product film, what we're going to do is look at the day-to-day maintenance, a few do's, a few don'ts, and what you do to keep your water spot on in a day-to-day fashion.